Today's AskReddit post. What did your parents teach you that you would never teach your children? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I would never compare my kids to other kids. Not only did it make me feel poopty back then, it's made me unnecessarily competitive now, and I seem to compare every little thing of mine with other people's. God, I feel this so hard. Growing up I wished I had a sibling to hang out with, but given how frequently I was compared to my classmates or the kids of random co-workers, I realize now that being an only child was the best thing that could have happened. Oh, don't worry, you're compared to your siblings all the time. How to rewind the VHS. Remember the first time you watched a DVD and tried to rewind it afterwards? That was a trip to learn that you don't have to rewind DVDs. Yep. Just flip them over and watch it in reverse. Never allowing me to tell my side of the story. When I was getting in trouble, most of the time it was my fault or something I could have done about it. But there were times that there was an honest explanation that would have explained the situation, and it was always talking back. Just give me a freaking second. Got so much this. I swore never to do this to my children. As a kid I remember vividly sitting there so ducking confused because my parents just made up a completely bullpoop story about what happened based on the small amount of it they witnessed instead of letting me explain what happened. I spent 2 weeks grounded one time because I broke a car window with my football, when I didn't even go outside that day, when it was actually broken when it was hit by a parking car. I couldn't understand why my parents wouldn't let me explain. It's so ducking weird and is a complete abuse of power to just arbitrarily decide right and wrong like that. Never say a word if someone hurts you. Never object. Never protest, and if you cry that is your weakness coming through. Don't cry. If you speak out when you are attacked you will be attacked twice as hard. Silence is the only way through to safety. Say nothing, no matter what. This advice really ducked me over. Guilt trips. All the damn guilt trips. Got one today from my mother actually. Yug, I hate my mom for trying to guilt trip me so much. She does it so much that I can tell when she is about to, so I can point it out, which makes her guilt trip me on accusing her of guilt tripping me. It's a vicious cycle. My mom tried to guilt trip me for 1,000 by saying that I raised you and you need to pay me back, that she can't afford food. I have hated my own family since I was 10 for this reason. A would yell at me for no reason and treated me like poop. My parents taught me not to share my feelings. It has taken me a long time to be able to do this. I don't want my kids hiding their feelings. There's some really important lessons I had to learn as an adult about expressing feelings, all because of how my parents treated my feelings. I am not repeating that poop. My kids will know all feelings are valid and that feelings are meant to be spoken about without judgment. If you don't feel that's possible, you should be sure to have a safe person to talk to about it. To be afraid of them. There's a post that keeps circulating that explains how I feel perfectly. It goes something like, I don't want my kids to mess up and feel like they have to hide it from me. I want them to mess up and come to me asking what they should do. Mistakes are a part of life. My mum goes berserk when I make a small mistake like spilling a drink. And I don't want my kids to be afraid of being human. There's no reason to be stressed. Everyone gets stressed, whether it's something big and life-changing or small and inconvenient. Growing up my sister and I always heard you shouldn't be stressed about this. This isn't a big thing to stress over and stuff like that. Instead of being taught to manage our stress, we've learned to hide it and bottle it up so our parents wouldn't think we're dramatic or something. Instead of teaching kids to not be stressed, I'd teach them how to manage stress in healthy ways so they can eliminate it or be able to navigate through it easily. That crying to them will make things worse, not better. My parents still tell me that only weak people cry. Not a huge crier, but it does mess up your ability to process emotions. Same. My parents keep telling me crying is bad and unhealthy. It has greatly affected my emotional control in a negative way. My parents also told only the weak cry. To never question authority, your elders. That's the worst one for me. If a person isn't curious and doesn't think by themselves about reality, they are only a shell of a human and will never fully live their own life. And it's a tough thing to learn later in life. It's like the saying, if you ask a question you're a fool for 5 minutes, but if you don't you're a fool for a lifetime. Clean your plate. As a registered dietitian, I can say that this is hands down the worst thing you can do to your kids' eating habits. It destroys their internal hunger and satiety later in life. My mum would give a huge, full plate, and being rather small for my age, I could never finish it. I would always sneak food into the bin when I've eaten until I'm about to throw up. How can I convince her to stop giving me more than I can handle? That anxiety and depression are not real health problems. Oh yeah, I've dealt with that one too. Always blaming my sadness on stupid things like my phone. Why do you have an attitude? My mum genuinely thinks that my hearing loss in my right ear comes from listening to music too loudly. As if the one ear will just degrade to near deafness overnight and the other will be perfectly fine. She also didn't deal with a wasp nest because she thought spiders make nests and that was what it was. I'm big. You're small. I'm right. You're wrong. Edit. While this blew up, I never watched Matilda. This was a Rick's Kenshin reference. Matilda? LOL. Bless Danny DeVito. That my emotions are their fault. Growing up, my mom would get frustrated with me and then lash out. She would then say something like, I yell because you're making me so angry. No, was just a kid doing kid poop. You yelled because you're not in control of your emotions. I've caught my mom doing this poop with my daughter and I call her out on it. You can't put that poop on a kid. I let my daughter know that what she did may have been unkind or need correcting, but she is not responsible for the emotions of the adults around her. The whole believe this because I say so hoax. Same, and now I'm stuck with kids who won't stop asking goddamn questions until I lose it. Proud and annoyed. Listen to question. Determine if question might turn unwanted results in Google. Let them Google it. Although that teaches how to Google and the next question might not be so Google friendly. Make sure to put URL filtering on. That you have to give granny, grandpa, uncle, pervert a kiss goodbye. No, you ducking don't. It's your body. You get to decide who you hug, kiss, etc. You're not allowed to be rude, so you have to say hello, goodbye. But you don't have to hug or kiss anyone you don't want to. Not even granny. Not even if she really wants a kiss, and she'll be disappointed if you don't kiss her. Used to hate that poop. Didn't mind hugs, but not the kisses. Some people do some weird ass kisses. No disrespect to my granddad, but he used to do multiple quick kisses on my neck. I knew them as vampire kisses, although he didn't bite, thankfully. I was always a tomboy growing up, but my mom and grandma were very persistent on trying to raise me based off of crazy Asian beauty standards and being a proper girl. Wouldn't let me play outside because they didn't want me to be dark. Always forcing me to wear clothes I wasn't comfortable in. Making sure I didn't play with my male cousins' games or toys even though I hated playing with dolls. I honestly think they were afraid I might be lesbian or undesirable to men. 30 plus years later they complain that I'm old and worry I'm not married with kids. It's because they left me with extreme low self-esteem and self-confidence, which led me to make horrible choices in relationships. I hope everything goes better. It's hard what you've been through. Hopefully, one day you'll love yourself for what you are, and not hate yourself for what you're not. My best wishes for you. That teachers are always right. Hey, my 10th grade biology teacher didn't know that nerve cells could reproduce. This was in 2002. Spoiler alert, they can. We've known that for a while now. Edit. New spoiler. All cells can reproduce. That's what allows babies to become adults. Till nerve cells can reproduce. Always cry if you need to. I spent most of my childhood getting yelled at to stop crying, and it really ducks you up. You grow up internalizing negative emotions and even blow them off, which of course doesn't help. Also, to never be scared to approach me with anything you're concerned about. I'm 25 but I still have to lie and keep secrets from my dad cause he would blow TF up or shut me up if I vented to him about anything that's dealt with relationships, my mental health, or health related matters, tampon usage, birth control, gyno appointments etc. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm 25 and I honestly don't remember the last time I cried. It was at least a decade ago. My dad was always big on the stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. But it's not just him. Where I'm from in England we're taught that men don't cry. And unfortunately it's the same in a lot of the world. Now I just can't. I've been depressed. I've been upset. I've been to the funeral of a man I'd grown up with and nothing. So yeah, I wouldn't do this to my kids. Your father is always right. Even if he is wrong you must still obey him. Because he is your father. I always make sure to tell the kids I've been wrong before. It was a Tuesday. That the only acceptable careers in the world are lawyer, doctor, and engineer. What would the world be without construction workers? FFS actually. Trades are falling out of style like the world is ending tomorrow. Go to a trade school instead of a traditional high school. You can always go to college later if you have second thoughts. In the next few years tradesmen are going to be making a killing. Even more than they already are. The most important thing I'll teach my children is to be good. But don't be nice. I've been a doormat my whole life just because nobody ever taught me the difference between being a decent person and a doormat. I'm 30 plus and I'm still working on this part of my personality. I don't want my children to go through this. Ever. I feel this. You get pulled into a false sense of being a nice person when really you just let people treat you however they want and apologize to them for it. It's the ducking worst. To be ashamed when I make a mistake. Ultra conservative religious mother, she's gotten better. Thankfully, nothing more crippling and counterproductive than shame and self-loathing. Jesus, that's a bad one. Insults aren't insults if they come from your family. My parents did this all of the time. I would get mad and then told I'm too sensitive. Story of my life. They could never see it from my point of view. That growing up was something to fear and dread. There was a lot of enjoy your chocolate now because when you're an adult you can't eat it. Enjoy watching TV now because when you're an adult you have to clean all the time. Do you ever see me relaxing? I wish I was back at school with my friends all day instead of working a job I hate. You just wait. You will hate your job too when you become an adult. There's no nice clothes. Just work clothes and home clothes. Adults don't have hobbies. So enjoy it while you can. Now as an adult I see that these were all choices. I can eat whatever I like. I do not have to clean all day. I do not live in a show home. I have had jobs that I didn't like. I made the choice to job hunt and find something else. I can choose to buy clothes I like and wear for to work and at home. It's my choice to pursue my interests or not. I'm often in awe of how easy adulthood is. Not because it is. But because it was always presented to me as this mountain of misery and I've chosen to eat the chocolate and play my cello instead. To be afraid of money. I spent so much of my childhood walking on eggshells because of my mom's constant anxiety over money. If I ever asked for anything she'd look at me like I was about to put her into financial ruin. My mom flipped out when I spent half my money, $80, on fireworks. I told her that it was my money and I've got a savings account anyway. She acted as if I had spent her money. Username checks out. If a boy is mean to you, he likes you. Worst lesson ever. Most of the time boys are mean to people just to have fun and it's easy to tell when that's the case. But they are also mean to be mean if say they don't like someone. I would know. I am a boy and I'm basically the stereotype. Playing video games. Has a dog. Has a small friend group. Messy room. I have Lego. Toy weapons and all that stuff. To be overly critical of my own body. My mom is otherwise wonderful but very insecure about her weight. She's not overweight at all. I often got comments like those, Jean look cute but don't gain 5 lbs, and lectures about how I can't go out around other people without makeup because what will people think? But it's unfortunate because she genuinely believes people are judging her that much. She apologizes every time we video chat if she hasn't put on makeup yet. There is nothing more attractive than healthy self-esteem. That defending yourself in an argument is bad. 100% yes. You wouldn't dare talk back, would you? Looms over you with the spatula, would you? Bad financial habits, which I've broken, thankfully. My parents were unconditionally supportive. Everything I did was the best and perfect and I was a genius. I will be giving my daughter constructive criticism, because that is how we get better at things. And my life was the exact opposite, so I'll meet you in the middle. Standing over here. Totally not shipping. My mother taught me that yelling, screaming, and throwing tantrums on your children is good parenting. Yo, do we have the same mom? Any person of color is of lower status class. Dafuck. Grades are everything. Yeah, never teaching my kids that, if I have any. That's funny, my first thought when reading the title was the exact opposite. My parents didn't push me hard enough to get good grades. Only now as an adult do I see this, and I wish they would have. When I have kids I will be quite hard on them to work and excel academically. I loved catching bugs when I was a kid. My father told me that dragonflies use their tails to sew people's lips and eyes shut. My kids don't need to learn that. Ugh. Why do adults think it's so funny to say stuff like that to kids? I remember when I was around 4 years old I was at a vending machine and some old guy came up to me and told me there was a snapping turtle in the vending machine. I was terrified and I remember him laughing at me and walking away. I'm almost 30 and I still remember that clearly. Kind of sad. My dad is a pretty great guy, but he always taught us to only vote conservative. That certainly wasn't a great way to foster much meaningful thought about politics. My mom only vilified conservatives. She taught us they were bad people. That's the problem with politics in the US. It feels like every Democrat thinks every Republican lacks empathy while every Republican thinks every Democrat lacks logic. It's gotten so bad to a point where it feels like there's no room for civil discourse. Don't have kids. I love me a good paradox. Children will ruin your life, my dad said to me when I was a teen. Instead of telling them to get a real job that makes actual money, allow them to follow their talents and passion in the first place, whatever it may be. I also wouldn't want to judge them on their looks. When my beard grew out for the first time it almost felt like I was being harassed to shave it off, so I ended up doing it for the longest time. Then when my mom got a haircut she expected me to say it looks nice, which felt super frustrating. The real job comments from parents can be so crushing when you're young and hopeful, but it's such a hard one to deal with in practice, as parents have much more appreciation for the road ahead than someone picking their first job major trade. My folks really encouraged my sister's art, put her through art school, etc. She's married to another artist now, which, although they are reasonably happy, means they are stuck in mostly flexible bar waitress work, unemployment, and some art gigs. They rely on family donated living space, cars, cash, etc. I'm not sure I could advise my kids to blindly follow their passions into that difficult situation. That the earth is fucking flat. I don't really know how to phrase this, but growing up, every argument I ever had with my brother was always totally shut down by my mother. She wouldn't let us fight about anything, and I personally think that's why I can hold an argument, or even a debate to this day. I never learned how to get my point across, so I can't hold a reasonable agreement. 3 sentences in and I'm out of steam. I don't know what to say next, and I feel like I'm about to cry. I've been getting better about it recently, but I wish I had been allowed to learn how to have a back and forth with someone when I was younger. I had the opposite problem. Cling to your stupid emotionally driven opinion until you out scream and out insult whoever disagrees with you. Several years of making a dipple out of myself arguing with people on the internet have gotten me, mostly, past it. Mostly, I wonder if practicing by making an anonymous dipple out of yourself on the internet would make things better or worse. My parents taught me that Jesus was the Son of God and that I had to follow his rules, otherwise he would send me to an eternity of endless torture. Racism. Yep, this was going to be my answer. I have white, typical boomer parents and I refuse to pass down their poop-tea views if I ever had a kid. That you have to be hated because of your dad's surname. That you belong to dad's filthy breed. That you are a slave to the whole family and world because you are a woman. And that you must pay with the consequence of not being liked by them by suffering and being their own object. I want to hug you. But maybe that's creepy, so I'll just say duck them. You have to go to college to have a good life. That's true in Canada. College and trade school is the way to go. University is only worth it if you're top of your class and the school is giving you a scholarship. I meant more like that you don't need a high-paying job to be happy. As long as you enjoy the experiences you make in life, you can have a great life with friends, a family and just overall living. That self-harm should be punished. They used to hang people for attempting suicide. Yeah, I don't think they realized what they were doing back then. But are you okay? If you ever need to talk, you can talk with me. Task failed successfully. You can like what you like and not feel embarrassed by it. To this day I still feel like I'm doing something wrong for liking certain things. I'm not hurting anyone or myself. My whole family would never look at me the same way again if they knew what I really liked. I never want my kids to have that level of fear around me for just enjoying what they enjoy. I've stopped showing my parents things I like and have stopped giving a single duck about their opinion on anything because of this. Like yet, I showed you one of my favorite songs. Congrats on shooting it down and insulting it. I really ducking needed that at 14 when I had no friends and you were the only person I can talk to you. You have no privacy, this, or you have privacy until you do something wrong. Then we have every right to go through your things. But then they would go through my journals even when I hadn't done anything wrong. My parents are coming to visit soon and I am going to hide my journals and things I don't want them to see because I don't trust them. And not being able to trust them with things like privacy has bled over into not being able to trust or confide in them today as an adult. I love them, but I don't trust them unfortunately. Well, I'm 15, so what they say goes. I just stay respectful. They actually don't invade my privacy often. Only if I get in trouble. Tough kids don't cry. It didn't give me any really bad issues or anything. But I grew up hearing that my whole life. And it wasn't from my mom. It was from my grandparents who helped raise me, but it has made me really awkward with emotions. In general, I don't like displaying negative emotions in public. If you've seen me cry, you are very close to me. We'll put it that way. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.